Child Initiative Agency, CIA, is an indigenous, non-profit, community-based, non-government organization that has been operating in Kamwenge District, Rwenzori Sub-Region, Western Uganda since 2009 and is legally and duly registered by the National Bureau of Non-Government Organizations in Uganda, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and Kamwenge District Community-Based Services. It is imperative to mention that CIA has a running memorandum of understanding with Kamwenge District local government. Established with the sole objective of generating and sharing right information through research, raising well-mentored, economically empowered, well-educated, fully nourished, very healthy and psychologically sound children, and aware of the fact that children are the cornerstone on which the future of the world lies, Child Initiative Agency has since its inception provided prevention, care and empowerment services to orphans and other vulnerable children, OVC and their households, people living with HIV/AIDS, survivors of gender-based violence, GBV, and the youth. Hermangildo Natwera, the Executive Director, Child Initiative Agency, notes that for so many years there was a vacuum in the district, especially with handling cases of domestic violence and abuse. Since there was no rehabilitation center for the victims, the reason as to why Child Initiative Agency partnered with Peace Corps Uganda to construct a gender-based violence GBV shelter in Kamwenge District.
For so many years, whenever we would have coordination meetings within the district would bring up a gap in service delivery. And the gap was in gender-based violence. Whenever they would receive cases of gender-based violence, a child has been abused, a woman has been abused. But they have been possibly abused within that community or even within that household. And they cannot go back after reporting. So the police, CBS department and the probation office would have nowhere to host these girls and women who have been abused. So it was a cry over a series of years. And later, we came up with an idea as Child Initiative Agency, together with our volunteer, Camille, who had been given to us by the US Peace Corps, and that gentleman, Camille, was from the United States. So we came up with an idea to construct a gender-based violence shelter. And that gender-based violence shelter, we wrote a concept which was approved by Peace Corps, and we are very grateful to them for that. And we started construction at the beginning of the year 2020. And by end of April, construction was done. And starting May, we started service delivery of the shelter. So and since then, we have served quite a number of people at the shelter with a range of services, including play therapy, psychosocial support, medical referrals and legal referrals, follow-up in the community, doing social inquiry together with the probation office, and so many other services. Now, at the shelter, we have made it a home, away from home. When children come, they receive basic care. We make sure that they are well fed and nourished. We make sure that they are well looked after in all aspects. And with regards to feeding, we have established a garden, a perma garden, or call it a kitchen garden, near the building where we get all sorts of vegetables to feed these children that are in our care.
One of the beneficiaries, who preferred anonymity, says that the facility has been a ray of hope in her life. After being sexually abused, Child Initiative Agency was able to host her and skill her in weaving baskets, where she is now earning some money from.
Akija yambi habia deona biana ababa biza banyatsiya bantu Kamwenge bakampera umfarasi bampereza kitande n'eshuka na blanketi n'embuzi n'empunu banyegyesa n'okuruka obujega nakwata kunareza kukwata ebinyono kuheza kuruka obujega nyihamu sente.
The parents of the beneficiary appreciate the help given to their daughter by Child Initiative Agency.
Amazina ganje n'inyubako g'umuhanzi Silvana okubanyambire hamwana wanje ogongogo nkabaikaho n'abatekerereza ndabashaba obuyambi nkubarambwere hamwana wanje ogo nabo tubambera babi obuyambi bampereza obutimba bubiri embibo ey'ebihimba n'ebicoori n'esooka ibiri na blanketi n'ekitanda n'embuzi n'empunu zino materiyo zarakozesa mbwenu omugwe gw'okuruka obutimba bumuyambire nk'esiri embibo ky'amaani ngihingire yagiire kwera tiyateiremu n'enjuma hati aho mpona teekateeka embuzi tekazere n'empunu eriyo nabyo tubikazere teekateeka byazaara ndagira mu magara geye nikubira ate mwabira muyambayambamu nayenda konekitingana n'abamba ba dokita baramba ubundi bahabuze.
Ndasiima ekitongole habw'okurugira ebikikorera ogwo mwishiki wanje ahakuba nanyowe nyenka ndangu nyina okugira kidanye banyambiraho ahakuba nanyowe nyenka tinkoye basisize nabukya b'ekitongole ndabasiima munonga hakugira bankorera nkabwo mwishiki wanje ogwo mpa hamwe n'ebi bamuhiire bakamuhereza embuzi bamuhereza n'empunu bamuhereza ekitanda bamuhereza ebihimba n'ebicoori bamuhereza naburanjete n'esooka ibiri hamwe n'akeegi n'obutimba bubiri nibyo byokuba nibyo ndaba ningaine nokwisa nabuti abakyakora ki bachamuhereza obuyambi nandi.
Sergeant NAMYALO KHADIJAH, an officer heading the Child and Family Protection Unit at Kamwenge Police Station, says that GBV shelter has supplemented on the police's efforts to rehabilitate victims of gender-based violence.
We are grateful for the construction of the GBV shelter at Kamwenge Health Center 3, and it has helped us as a police, in particular the Child and Family Protection Unit, because we are the one receiving victims of gender-based violence and even violence against children, including children who are unaccompanied or separated by the parents. In fact, in that center, we refer there children who are abused, like sexually abused, like physically abused, and children who are lost and found, unaccompanied children. Plus women who have suffered domestic violence, more especially physical domestic violence. Because when they hit them, they fight in the homes, they run at late hours sometimes. Sometimes there is a threat by the husband that is likely to be killed. So we cannot surrender the woman to go back. We first take that woman to the shelter. Before that, the construction of this center, I used to keep these children in my house. And it was infringing economically infringing on me. For example, feeding these children, there is a child whom I stayed here with for 1 month. On my cost, on my own cost, I was feeding her until we resettled this child in northern region. And we have been receiving other children who are unaccompanied. Very many of them, at least in a month, we could average 1 child or 2 children in a month. But we are keeping them here. Either I take them in my house, or sometimes we could keep them around the reception. When I got exhausted, because even I was running short of food, I decided sometimes to leave them at the reception. They stay there. We gamble, we contact the NGOs for money for resettling them. Sometimes Save the Children has been helping us to integrate these children. But the shelter, we appreciate, and we want the capacity of the shelter to be increased, to be built up, so that children should not lack food, They give them over materials for playing and other things. Otherwise, we appreciate. In fact, it has saved me. I was the one who suffering with these children on my own cost. So we appreciate the existence of this center and the operation of it.
Gerald BAALE, the Kamwenge District Probation and Social Welfare Officer, says that as a district, they had always had a vacuum, especially on where to host the lost and found children and other victims of gender-based violence, which the gender-based violence shelter has solved.
I first learned of the GBV shelter. I think we had a coordination meeting, as usual as a district. And this is where we met with the Child Initiative Agency and Camille. Camille is from Peace Corps. So when they had that as a district, we had a gap of a correction center for children, especially those, the lost and found, those we find in town, for example. Then also children who have been affected by gender-based violence in homes and therefore cannot put up in their homes because of the atrocities of their parents, and also other effects of GBV like beating and the kind. So we shared with partners on the same in the coordination meeting, and Peace Corps and Child Initiative Agency picked it, and they came up with an intervention. They worked with us and said they would actually help us put up the shelter. So we worked on the preliminary work of, securing the land as government, putting in the 25%, and then Peace Corps also, brought the monies, and they actually started the project. So as government, we had to put some percentage, providing the land, but also making sure there is security, and therefore, and also the health workers to support the juveniles. And for them, they came up with the infrastructure. We went into a memorandum, and then we had a shelter. As Kamwenge community, I think this is a blessing, because initially we didn't have such a service. We'd find the probation, police stuck with these children, and would find it very difficult to put up with them in our families. But now, as I talk, this service is available, and as the community is reaping a lot. One of the most successful stories is when we hosted there 2 children. One was in an imbecile, and this child was around 10 years, but she could not walk. She could not, move. She would actually sit in one place, and she would do all her business in one place. But we took these children to the shelter, and they have a trained person there, and these children were held there for over a month or so, until we sat with the magistrate and GERALD, the CIA chief executive, and me, probation. We sat with the magistrate, had to call these the parents, the caregivers, and we successfully reintegrated these children. I've been making some follow-ups in the village, and they are really doing very good.
Camille Krasinescu, a former U.S. Peace Corps volunteer working at Child Initiative Agency, is grateful their intention of providing care, skilling and supporting the vulnerable people of Kamwenge district, especially survivors of GBV, finally came to reality.
And I served as a volunteer for the U.S. Peace Corps from August of 2018 until March of 2020 in Kamwenge Town Council, Western Uganda. I worked for a local indigenous non-governmental organization called Child Initiative Agency, which was started in 2009 in order to support orphans and other vulnerable children and victims of gender-based violence. I had been working alongside CIA's executive director and founder, Hermanegildo Natuera, since the beginning when I arrived in Kamwenge in 2018. We had begun discussing the proposal for the Kamwenge GBV and OVC Resource Center around the months of November and December of 2018, but because of several delays and competing projects, we were not able to give serious consideration to this project and to writing this grant until September of 2019. Beginning in September of 2019, I came into contact with my supervisors from the US Peace Corps, and me and Mr. Hermanegildo Natuera also began visiting with district officials and officials from Kamwenge Health Center 3 in order to begin devising the plan to write a grant to receive funds from the US Peace Corps for the construction of the Kamwenge GBV and OVC Resource Center. Throughout the course of 3 months in September, October, and November of 2019, I held several meetings with these district officials and with several other NGO stakeholders around Kamwenge district. We were able to come up with a plan, and eventually, in January of 2020, the grant proposal was accepted by the US Peace Corps and the funds were released to CIA in order to begin construction for the Kamwenge GBV and OVC Resource Center. We began construction and the procurement of the construction materials in February of 2020, and throughout a long building process, which was eventually finished in late April of 2020, the construction was eventually completed and the shelter became operational in May of 2020. I am very happy with the progress of the shelter, but mostly I am happy for the people of Kamwenge, and especially the vulnerable women and children who will benefit from the services of this resource center. Our intention from the very beginning was to benefit them, to support them, to provide them with primary healthcare services, to provide them with HIV testing, psychosocial support, and economic strengthening training. And I'm happy to report that several OVCs and survivors of gender-based violence have already benefited from the services of the shelter. I'm very happy to have played this role in supporting the people of Kamwenge, but true credit goes out to Mr. Hermanegildo Natuera, to Mr. GERALD BAALE, the District Probation Officer of Kamwenge District, and to all of the government officials in Kamwenge and the people, the employees of CIA who made this project successful and who made this project possible. Without them, this project would not have happened. I'm happy to contribute in any way that I can, and I wish only good health and prosperity to the people of Kamwenge District and the people of Uganda as we continue to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you and goodbye.
Constance Vanjirana, the Vice Chairperson LC5, who is in charge of the Child Affairs as well as Finance, Planning and Administration, notes that as a result of the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, gender-based violence cases have increased in the district and the shelter has been a blessing to them.
I want to begin by thanking the Child Initiative as a development partner among the partners we have in Kamwenge. Kamwenge District, as a local government, we have a vision that by 2030, at least every person in Kamwenge shall be healthy and has to be okay financially. So according to our vision, we have to implement government programs, and at the same time, we have to bring on board development partners. And among the development partners, we have Kamwenge Child Initiative. The partner has helped us a lot, more especially in children affairs. I want to appreciate the conducive and environment for smooth implementation of rebuild activities in Kamwenge District. We assigned an MOU according to their program because as a Kamwenge District, we have some issues concerning our children. You are aware, or I want to let you know, that the children depend on the adults for their growth. Since the COVID time, we have had many issues. We have registered cases, more especially on domestic violence. And when the family is not steady, obviously the children suffer. And because these children depend on their parents, you may find Some men have divorced their family. They decide to go away and leave the children at home. Sometimes parents die, either mothers go away, and the end results, the kids suffer. Not only in Kamwenge, we have even received children from other districts, whereby they are also facing the same challenges as we are facing. And we end up receiving children who are homeless, whom were left at home to care for themselves. And as a district, we find we have nowhere to keep them, even at the police. So, as a child initiative, when we had our meetings, because they normally give us reports, we normally meet, and we had to tell them the challenge we have, more especially these children who are homeless. So they ended up coming up with a program where they had to give us a shelter, which has helped us to accommodate these children who are homeless. I think you must have moved around, you must have seen the facility. It has really helped us.
The Kamwenge Chief Administrative Officer EDITH MUTABAAZI says for a long time, victims of gender-based violence have been ignored in the district due to the lack of a rehabilitation center. With the help of the Child Initiative Agency, a shelter has been created which has given hope to the violence victims.
The Child Initiative Agency has been with us, and recently they constructed a shelter at Kamwenge Health Center 3, which has gone a long way to keep safe the children that are victims of violence from their homes. The initiative have been providing social support in terms of counseling. They have been counseling these children. They have their recreational centers. They do recreational activities. They have tools to use for children to play. Then those who need health care, they refer them to health centers, like Kamwenge Health Center 3, or even MUCUNGUZI Hospital, those who have complications. And they have at least supported the children who experience violence. So we really appreciate the initiative, and I think the parents, wherever they are, when they have such problems, they bring the children. They know the center is there. They provide food, they provide clothes, they sleep well, the mattresses were provided, they are there. So the life for the children is okay there. They even prefer staying there than going back to their homes.
Dr. William MUCUNGUZI, the district health officer, says as a district they are glad with the innovation of Child Initiative Agency and that they are willing to fund its sustainability.
And one of the partners we have as the district is Child Initiative Agency that we have worked with closely for a while. But what makes them different from others, because their issue is the well-being of children, HIV issues, TB, nutrition, malaria control and others. But what makes them special from other partners or NGOs is that they help the district set up a shelter for gender-based violence survivors, call them victims. It is the first of its kind in the district. And we really thank them for that innovation they really did to mobilize resources and ensure that shelter is there, functional at one of our health facilities at Kamwenge Health Center 3. So why I'm saying it is very unique intervention is that before its construction, we could get cases or survivors. We don't want to call them victims and whatever. They have nowhere to go and they are neglected, others are abused. We have nowhere to put them. But working hand in hand with him and his partners abroad I really have to thank him for that kind of spirit for our district. Mobilize those resources because it was a very big gap as a district. There was a very big gap on how to manage those children that had issues of gender-based violence and others. Where do you keep them temporarily as you sort out their issues? So, as of now, the numbers he must have told you, but for us as a district, we are happy that we are no longer getting stuck with these children. Whenever we get them, we refer them to the shelter. It is professionally managed. As now we see what to do. Of course, what we do depends what is the problem. If there is a problem of treatment, the center is at a health facility.
A child initiative has really helped us, this GB, by constructing the GBV shelter. This shelter has greatly helped, has greatly relieved the pressure on Kamwenge Center 3 and has greatly really helped the people around Kamwenge. When I came, we used to get some children and mothers who had been chased away from their homes, children who had nowhere to stay, and we would get problems with in the way of handling them, managing them and helping them. But when this GB shelter was constructed and was opened, I've received very many cases of children and actually even women. You see police officers bringing children here. Previously, when they would come, you would have nowhere to stay, to put them. Some of them, we would put them on ward, sleep there when they were very hungry, and even we didn't have even how to help them. But with this GBV shelter, when you're here, they bring them, like police officer brings the children. There is a staff who is a full-time staff who is working with Child Initiative, sleeps here, and prepares for them meals. So whenever they come, you talk to them, counsel them, and immediately refer them to the GBV shelter, where they get food, where they sleep well, there are good beds, the environment is good for children.
Grace Kasima, the Linkage and Referral Supervisor at Child Initiative Agency, says that the shelter has been able to help in promoting mental health of the victims through support, skilling, and basic care.
Since the GBV shelter or gender-based violence shelter started, so far we have served 114 clients. And these clients are in categories. We have served 9 clients who are GBV cases. We have served 17 clients who are child neglect cases. And we have also served 88 OVC who normally come to use our shelter. This is within the period of May 2020 and October 2020. And out of 114 clients that we have served, 59 are females and 55 are males. The services that we have given them include psychosocial support. We have given them skilling. We have also given them basic care. In basic care, we have given clothes. We have recreational materials. We have a TV set. We have volleyball. So children normally come and play and reduce their stress. Other services that we have also offered include referral, and we have referred to Kamwenge Probation Office. So far we have referred there 21 clients. We have also referred to police 3 cases. We have also referred 3 clients to Kamwenge Health Center 3 for medical services. So far, those are the clients we have served from May 2020 to October 2020.
Amazina ganje nibanyeta Twire Justina Narungu. Nyowe nkaba ndi aho kare nkaba ndi aho nabona abana aba kare nabagamba abana aba ngo bari oku ahirwaro nazayo kunashikireyo nabashangayo haza nkashanga ekitongore kiri kubaho kiri kubareberera asheruta nanye nabihayo baba nkwasa nije nabera nabo namana b'emyezi 2 ndi kubareberera obuyambo bundi kushaba kare nanye ndi omukazi nko kumukunde bandi omuzigo ndi kwebatsa nishaba nkwateho habijwaro ahamere okushoma nko kukurashe babare baza hishomero hati na muno go mushiki wembwenu kare ari no buremezi bw'amani abakuba ahakuba stamina hakushesha hakuba stamina hakukora bubi hati banyambo bakabasa kunyamba ho mbwenu abintu nkebyo sabundi kare mwene koko kumoko kwasa kurebera umwana shawo yambo wena bakayishomero obure bwishomero.
Gilda says that rehabilitating the victims and vulnerable people alone won't solve the problem of gender-based violence, but there is need for leaders at all levels to sensitize people about the issue of gender-based violence.
At the shelter, the way we started is not the way we are. We started very small, but at least we have continued to expand and put more services, and we plan to write more concept notes to the donors, different donors, so that we can have the services expanded the more. We can have the services more of the quality, a better quality than we are offering now. And we want also to expand the space so that we are able to host many victims than we are able to host today.
The shelter, which opened officially in May 2020, has been able to offer its services like child protection and child rights promotion, psychological support, basic care, appropriate linkages and referrals to different service points, and skills training to 114 children. 9 of these are survivors of abuse, 17 neglect cases, and 88 orphans and other vulnerable children overseas. Child Initiative Agency is very grateful to Peace Corps Uganda and other partners for funding this project.